Okay, so this is how I like to do my hands. As you can see here, I start out with sort of a flat, rectangular, boxy sized shape for the palm, and I sculpt the thumb in roughly, right? Just getting the major shapes in there. Not looking for perfection here, just blocking stuff in. And then I do the fingers. I put a loop cut for each knuckle, and I'll round off the tip sometimes, other times I won't. It all depends upon what I'm trying to do. It helps a little bit if you think ahead. Now, these are all separate except for the thumb. The thumb is part of the palm, but the four fingers are separate. I don't even get into fancy modeling here because I find it's totally unnecessary if you're sculpting. And what you do have to keep in mind is everything's going to get a little bit smaller once you remesh it and start sculpting it. And you see I've remeshed that palm, and I've started to sculpt in some of the details. You know, that little pad by the thumb, and smoothing out all the corners, streamlining things, because this is a female hand, so the fingers tend to be a little longer and a little thinner. You know, they have that taper to them. And you just put it all together. And what I really like about this is it kind of lets you bend the fingers. You know, let's say you need to, you know, she's holding something. You can wrap the fingers around it. You can adjust it. You take a look at it, make sure everything's in proportion. And then, as you see here, you just remesh it and you go in and you sculpt the details. Right now I will sculpt all four fingers and the palm and the thumb before I even boolean anything to anything. Once I get like 99% of the details in there, then I will start putting things together. And you know, all fingers are pretty much the same. The length is a little different. But, you know, and what you have to be careful with this method is that you don't leave the boxiness, right? You want to make sure you round everything out nicely. Otherwise, they're going to look like robot fingers or something, I don't know. But sculpting in the nail is easy, and I find that the higher you remesh it, the harder it holds the detail. Like a lot of times, if I'll put in detail and then I'll use the smooth brush, it'll take some of that out. So you have to raise the remesh level, or actually lower the number to make the mesh denser. And then I find it holds the detail better when you go to smooth it out. But other than that, it's, you know, pretty much just what you see. And I really find this lets me get everything in there. I can make pretty much whatever hands I need. It takes all the difficulty out of the fancy modeling. Now, if you're going to use this for animation or something like that, you're going to want to retopologize the entire thing anyway. But we're talking about 3D printing here. And you can see what I did here is I kind of put the fingers in sort of a, like I put the first two fingers and the last two fingers together, and I kind of made like a Vulcan live long and prosper sign a little bit. And I did that basically because these are very small fingers. And I know resin can do some high detail and some tiny things, but I was afraid they'd be too delicate if I left each finger apart. So I put the two fingers together to make them a little thicker, to make them a little stronger, just in case I'm real dropsy. So while I haven't dropped this sculpt at all, it's been known to happen in the past. So I try to build in, you know, as much strength as I can into my models. And this is really all there is to it. Oh, I was having a little trouble here, I think. There is a button in the brushes that you can click on that will only affect the front faces, but I find it doesn't always work. And I've tried masking. That does work a little bit better, but it's sometimes hard to get into the areas. I also find if you zoom in really close to the mesh, you can sculpt on an area without it going through if it's very thin. and then you just back away once you build up enough width so the front face and the back face are far enough apart, you can then sculpt on it. I think basically what I wanted to do here is just make them a little bit thicker so that they would stick into the palm. And when I boolean them, what am I with my tongue today? I'm having trouble. When I boolean things together, they would just be a bit more of a solid connection, right? Since these fingers are so close together, you can't really see in there, and I just wanted to make sure everything was really well attached. I think, is this the last finger? Yeah, here's the same problem again. That drives me nuts. Blender's come, leaps and bounds in sculpting, and it's really good so far, but sadly ZBrush still has a little bit on us, and it's expensive software, so it makes sense that they'd be a little farther ahead. They have more resources, but sculpting has come a long way in Blender, a long way, and it's I can do some really good stuff with it now. That was kind of iffy in the beginning. So here you go, you see I'm booleaning some of the fingers to the hand. Now what you have to be careful of is when you remesh, especially with something like the fingers that are so close together. See, they're starting to, when two objects are close together in a remesh, they will sort of join a little bit. So you have to be careful of that. Especially like I'm in the habit of, so I will boolean things and then remesh them. And you have to be careful of that with the fingers. And that is how I do my hands. Once again, don't forget to like and follow and ring that bell. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will do my best to get to you as soon as I can. See you in the next video.